Hey everyone, in this video, I'm going to be starting a two-part mini video series on what I'm calling the best of my travels. The idea actually came from one of my viewers. Shout out Guillermo Martinez Ramon for the idea. And he suggested that I do a top tier list of sorts since I've been to a lot of countries and I share my experiences about these countries. So I started reflecting on the idea and I decided to come up with 10 the best of categories. And I chose one country for each category that I felt made the cuts. It was pretty difficult only choosing one country for each of these categories, but I'm pretty happy with the list. So stick around to the end and you'll get to see which of these countries made the cut, and hopefully it'll inspire you to book your next trip. Before I get into the first 5 categories of this list of 10, I want to take a moment to acknowledge my privilege in being able to make a video like this and to have traveled to all the places that I've been to. I've been to, I think, nearly 40 countries now, and I'm very fortunate and lucky, and I never want to take that for granted. And in making this video, I hope that I can inspire you to visit some of these places and in turn connect with the local people and to contribute to them in a meaningful way. This first category is going to be about adventure. Now, when I was thinking about this one, it was quite difficult to choose because I'm constantly seeking adventure. Any country that I go to, I will try to find ways to dive, to surf, to hike volcanoes, or to do any crazy activity that gives me a thrill. But after doing some thinking, there was only one country that really stood out from the rest, and that's New Zealand. Chances are you've heard that New Zealand is well known for its camper van trips. People travel to this country, rent large camper vans, and then just go out into the wilderness and spend days, weeks, maybe even months at a time exploring the incredible wilderness and the vast beauty of this country. Whatever you'd like to do adventure-wise, New Zealand probably has it. My brother and I did a camper van trip through South Island, New Zealand, and we decided to focus our time mainly in the mountains. And so we did a lot of incredible hikes. One of the most memorable moments of this trip for me was when we were in Mount Cook National Park. We were doing one of the normal trails, which wasn't too difficult at all. It was pretty flat. And at one point, a stranger comes up to us and asked if my brother's camera was a nice camera. He responded yes, and then this guy told him to point his camera to one of the mountains, and so he did. And he was showing us a backcountry hut, which is a tiny structure that the New Zealand government has built all over the country that essentially allows you to backpack and hike throughout the country and stay in these places for shelter and to cook. He pointed to this hut and he told us that we should go up there out of nowhere, a complete stranger. And we kind of took that as a sign. And so my brother and I planned for the next day to do this hike. We didn't realize how difficult it was going to be, and we were slightly underprepared, but it ended up being a 7-hour journey to this backcountry hut, and we had views of the entire national park the entire way. All we had to do was take a moment to stop, turn around, and we had views of the lakes and the mountains and the glaciers, and it was stunning. We got to the top of the hut. We were the only 2 people there. We took lots of photos with his camera and my drone, and it was honestly a truly special moment to share that with my brother, but also to spend the whole day hiking and taking in that beauty. For me, that represents the essence of the adventure in New Zealand. You can basically go anywhere and truly enjoy beauty, nature, all that New Zealand has to offer. Coincidentally, I was there for my birthday, and I even learned about jet boating, which I didn't even know existed before. And it's something that New Zealand invented, which is basically you have a boat with a shallow bow and someone slaps a jet engine on the back and you go really quickly on the water. And so I believe we were just outside of Queenstown. We got onto one of these boats and we were able to zip around this river and do 360s and all of these crazy things. And honestly, it was something that I never imagined I would do, but it was the epitome of adventure. It's such an awesome experience being able to just grab a van and to go experience nature. The infrastructure in New Zealand is perfectly set up for it, and there's something for everybody. The roads are great, it's safe, it's not overly expensive, and it's the perfect place to really disconnect and to take in all the beauty that this planet offers. At some point in your lifetime, I highly suggest that you get a camper van and cruise through New Zealand. The next category is the most beautiful. Also very challenging trying to decide which country I would choose for this category. I could have easily chosen any of the countries that I've been to because there's beauty everywhere. But I decided to choose the United States of America. I'm a little biased, obviously, as an American, but I have reasons why. So a little fun fact for you. The first national park that was ever created in the entire world was Yellowstone National Park. and it was created by President Ulysses S. Grant in 1872, simply for the enjoyment of the people, to protect the land. Since then, the US has protected a lot more land in the United States, and there are national parks all over the country, and there are national parks all over the world, which I think is an incredible thing, that we're protecting land and we're keeping it for the people so that we never forget the beauty of this planet and the importance of taking care of it. I haven't been to all 50 states, but I'm working on it. And a few years ago, I ended up doing a 3-week road trip through the entire Western United States with my best friend. We did a giant loop starting in Los Angeles, passing through Vegas and Utah and Wyoming and Montana and Idaho and Oregon and all the way down, and we hit 8 national parks. I knew that the United States was beautiful before this trip, but after I visited all of these national parks, my understanding of the beauty of the United States completely changed. I saw colors that I had never seen before. I saw vast stretches of nature in parks that really showed me the size of the United States and how massive it is. If you get caught up in a city, you really feel like things are cramped and quite dense. But as soon as you leave a city, you really get a sense of how much space there is. Yellowstone National Park, Glacier National Park, and Crater Lake National Park were some of the main standouts for me on this trip because of their pure beauty. I'm honestly struggling to articulate and to describe how beautiful these places are, because honestly, I think the only way to understand is to see it with your own eyes. The trails are well marked and they're built for hikers to come and enjoy. There's so much history behind these parks. You learn a lot about the wildlife and the vegetation that makes up the parks, and you gain a new appreciation of nature. This is a trip that I'll never forget, and it really opened my eyes to the beauty of the United States. And that was just one part of the country. I know that there's a whole other side. The next category is cuisine. Now, obviously, this is a difficult category because there is amazing food everywhere, and it honestly depends on your preferences. But when I was thinking about which country I would choose for this, I was thinking about access to various types of food and the quality of food. And so my choice for best cuisine goes to Mexico. I spent 5 years living in Mexico City, and without a doubt, I can tell you that I did not have one bad meal in 5 years. And this is crazy because it doesn't matter if you're on the street and you're eating street food or you're going to a Michelin star restaurant, the quality of the food is the same. It's super, super high. It's flavorful, it's interesting, it's artistic, and it'll leave you amazed. I even recently heard that a taco stand in Mexico City got a Michelin star rating, which is unheard of. One thing that's particular about Mexico is that it's so rich in culture that every food item that you get to try, whether you're in Mexico City or traveling throughout the country, tells a story. Travel to a different state in Mexico and there's a chance that you'll find a local food, and it's unique to that place and there's history behind it. I especially loved Mexico City because it's a massive city, has over 20 million people. And with that, there are a lot of immigrants and access to different types of food. I remember having amazing Peruvian food, amazing Middle Eastern food, amazing Indian food, amazing Italian food, amazing Thai food. Pretty much had access to everything. And it was all top quality, either because the Mexicans there knew what they were doing or because they had immigrants from these countries and they also knew what they were doing. When you go to Mexico, you truly feel that food unites people. You can see it on the streets and you can see it in restaurants. And so when you eventually go, I highly suggest that you do a tour or you spend time researching restaurants so you get a sense of the culture and you better understand what I feel is a huge part of the identity of Mexicans. Be careful though, because if you don't have the strongest stomach, or if this will be your first time going to Mexico, there's a good chance that you'll suffer from Montezuma's revenge. If you don't know what that is, Google it and you'll later learn. I don't know if there's any way to prepare for it, but think of it as your initiation into some of the best cuisine in the world. This next category will be about partying. Once again, you can find a good party anywhere in the world. But when I was thinking about this category, I was thinking about how deeply is it integrated into the culture of the people and what does it mean to those people? So the country that made the cut for this category is Spain. Spaniards just get it. They understand that drinking and partying and staying out late is really just a celebration of life, about being close to the people that you love. One of the things that stood out most to me when I first moved to Madrid was just how people were on the streets just drinking beer what felt like at all hours of the day and late at night and into the early morning. Sometimes at 10 a.m., 11 a.m. when I'm on my way to work, I saw people drinking beer, but it was never belligerent or it was never something that felt like it was wrong. I could just tell that people were genuinely enjoying the beer and spending time with the people that they were with. In addition to that, I went out quite a bit in the city and all over the country. And staying out till 6, 7, 8 a.m. became a customary thing for me because that's just what people did. And I truly appreciated it because I got to see the sunrises, and it made for an eventful night where we were having so much fun that we just didn't want it to end. Unfortunately, at the time that I was living in Spain, I didn't have the time or the money to visit Ibiza. But what can I say about Ibiza? It's a dream destination of mine. It's arguably the house music capital of the world. And you have some of the craziest clubs in the world, like DC10. I will make it there one day, hopefully sooner than later, and I'll probably be reminded of how crazy the party scene is in Spain. But I think it's like a mecca for partying and for electronic music. And it's honestly not a surprise that this island in the Mediterranean has this culture that emulates the rest of Spain. Whether it's the late night energy, enjoying tapas with your friends, or various festivals, Spaniards understand that partying and celebrating is just a way of life. So hopefully you get to make your way out there one day and experience that feeling. The next category is the best place to get lost in. Now, if you don't know what you're doing or if you're not careful, you could get lost anywhere, but just because you get lost somewhere doesn't mean that you're going to be enjoying that experience. And so I was thinking, okay, if I were to get lost in a place, what about the surroundings would make me enjoy it? And so then I started thinking about the places that I'd been to and places that inspired me simply just by wandering around and taking in my surroundings. And there was one clear choice, and that is Japan. I spent a few weeks in Japan in various cities, and it was an absolutely wonderful and life-changing experience visiting this place. Japan was one of those countries for me that always was on my radar for whatever reason, called my attention, and was always a dream destination. And when I finally went, it made a lot of sense. Japan is in its own planet. It feels like a different world, and it's truly inspiring to be able to experience the way that that country is run, the culture, the people, and how unique it is. So it's great to get lost in a place like Japan, one, because it's very clean, two, because it's safe, three, you'll find shrines and shops and restaurants and everything in every little nook and cranny that you can find. Tokyo, Japan is an incredibly dense city, and I believe it's the largest city in the world. And there's just so much to do, see, and experience. As a foreigner, if you don't speak Japanese, then obviously that adds to the effect. You don't know what any of these characters mean. Maybe you don't understand how to use the metro. Maybe you get lost, but that's okay because there's adventure in every corner. There's things to experience. And it's really the attention to detail that the Japanese people put into everything that they do that you really feel and get to experience, which I think is special and unique. When everything around you is done with intention, why wouldn't you want to get lost? I think this is a special category because oftentimes when we're going on trips or we're planning, we want to check all the boxes and we want to do everything that everyone is doing on Instagram, the things that seem famous. But what if you were able to leave space to get lost or to discover new things or things that you had no idea existed? Japan would be the place to do that. I remember specifically doing a tour of a whiskey distillery just outside of Kyoto, and while we were doing this tour, I remember learning about the history of this distillery and hearing about how the Japanese had searched this entire country looking for the purest water that they could find so that they could make the highest quality whiskey that suited the Japanese palate that they could. And they settled on this river just outside of Kyoto. And that was the story behind the distillery. And then I ended up getting lost in the whiskey. So it's a perfect example of why you should visit this country and just let yourself get lost. So that's part one of my two-part mini series of the best of my travels. I hope you enjoyed those first 5. Let me know in the comments if you agree or if you're curious about anything else, and stick around for next week's video, which will be the next 5 categories. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.